the way that they're sort of selling you guys, the brothers, or these DIY filmmakers, and I think it's great that you're getting these opportunities to make the stories you want to make. And so for this reason, I want to take you back. I want you to take us back to the day that you find out that Mel Gibson is agreeing to be part of the film.
Oh man, that's such a great day. That was a pretty wild one. I mean, first of all, I don't know if you heard, but like Ian and I went to a screening of Hacksaw Ridge, and
how great is that movie, by the way? That movie is awesome. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah.
No, and honestly, like like there was things that we talked about with Mel about that movie, and many others that he was so generous with his insight. But we go to see Hacksaw Ridge, and he's doing a Q&A afterwards, and he's there with that beautiful feral beard, and he looks like this is he's just finished the film, he's on the publicity tour, and he just looks like a guy that's like a little rough around the edges, bearing a load on his shoulders. And Ian and I turned to each other and I'm like, fuck, like that's the guy right there.
Look at him, there he is. He had the beard. It was fucking amazing.
So now it's to your point. It's like, how do you go about getting him, right? So we had an entry into his agent. So we made the submission. And at this time, we were also like just trying to get the movie set up. So we're going out to different companies, and
we were fielding meetings with a ton of production companies and producers, and it was actually because it's such a batshit crazy script that we had been peddling it for about 14 years, and no one would make it. They would take the meeting with us and go, "This is fucking crazy. You guys are nuts." But like, someone's gonna make this one day, but it probably won't be you guys. And we're like, "What do you mean?"
I think half of those meetings were like they just wanted to see the lunatics who walked through the door.
Exactly. But they would tell us that because they were like, "Well, look, it's director dependent. You have to do something that shows what the tone of this thing is, because whatever filmmaker you give this to, it could go either way." You're like, "Oh, this guy's gonna do it, or this gal's gonna do it, and it's gonna have this flavor, this flavor." So like, are you gonna lean into the comedy? Are you gonna lean into the action? Are you gonna lean into the drama? We're like, we're gonna lean into all of it.
Yeah, we're doing that.
So what we ended up doing was building our way up with films, and the first one we made was $1,500, and by the time we got to Small Town Crime, that was about 2 million bucks. And that tone that we hit in Small Town Crime was what we were able to point to, and that was enough. That gave people enough insight into what we were trying to do or what we were going to do with that film.
Now, flashback to Mel. So we were fielding all these meetings, and we get an email from a nondescript address that doesn't ring a bell for any of us.
Yeah, and it was like, "Hey, I love the script. I thought it was really funny. Let's sit down for a chin wag. No sign off." And I'm like, okay, great. It must be another producer or financier that like wants to take a meeting with us and tell us we're crazy. So I'm like, okay. So I get on there and I type it out. I'm like, "Hey, great. Love it. Awesome. I can't wait to meet you. Who am I talking to? Sorry, there's no sign off and I can't tell from your email," because it was a pseudonym.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't like Braveheart.
No.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Hacksaw, Braveheart, Apocalypse.
Braveheart Dude 69 or something great like that, right?
Or it's just freedom.
That would have been even better, the freedom one. He goes, "Oh yeah, sorry, I always forget to leave a handle. This is Mel." And I went, "Ah!" And I was called Ash. I'm like, "Oh my God, he likes the script." So I mean, we didn't even know when or if he was going to read it, because you send it to the agents and you're praying that they think there's worth there or something that might interest their client. And then they send it to the client, unbeknownst to you. Usually they're not like, "Hey, I really like the script. I'm going to send it to Mel now." They're just like, "Okay, I'm going to send it to Mel. And if he has the time or responds to this, then, these guys will hear from him sometime down the line."
It's literally throwing a note in a bottle into an ocean.
It feels like it, man.
Yeah, no, it is. And you just don't know when that message is going to wash back or if it ever will.
So we're trying to get the financing going, pick a producing partner and get the talent at the same time, when that was all kind of swirling.
And then we ended up meeting with him, sitting down for coffee. And we're like, okay, let's just see how this goes, It
was supposed to be like a 45-minute meeting at a cafe, and like 3.5 hours later, we're still there, and we're all jonesed and jazzed, and he's got another meeting or something to go to, so he has to break away. But we were all like hugging and like it was still talking in the parking lot in front of his car. Like, we were all pumped up about it. And it was really this moment where I mean, look, it's a crazy script that mixes a lot of tones and genres. That's what we love to do.
But we wanted to ground the fantastic.
But there's always a grounding to it. Like, we always want it to be very grounded so that you don't, because it makes everything kind of flow better in our minds. Mm-hmm. And the penultimate moment when we were like, this is the fucking guy, is when he tells us, he's talking about the scene where he's standing at the balcony. He's talking to the elves. He's breaking it to them. Hey, look, he's like, and I think when I do that moment, I should just be like almost in tears. He's like, I feel like it's that kind of moment. Like, and we're like, yeah. And he goes, and that's what's going to be so funny about it. And we're like, yes, yes, you get it. That's, and like, you could, like, he immediately got like these layers we were aiming for in the script. He just read right into it. And then, you know, was adding his own flavor to that character. And man, he picked this kind of Western aesthetic and this rough guy.
Like he's an old cowboy.
And man, it was so fun, you know, collaborating with him.
One of my favorite scenes, guys, and I don't want to give too much of it away, is when you guys pull the camera way, way back and there's a standoff between two characters late in the movie. And that shot was unbelievable. I love that shot so much. That Western aesthetic you're talking about.
That's probably the moment that we were sitting there like, you know, punching each other in the shoulder going like, can you believe this? Can you believe this is happening right now?
There's so many times where it's so surreal because, look, I mean, you have to understand, like, we were rejected for 14 years. Like, just kept getting punted. And then to have that moment where, like, we have the elves and Captain Jacob come to set, and we're like, this is insane. Like, waiting for them. You know, you're like, what? Like, there'll be times where, you know, I'd be like, I can't believe we're getting to make this freaking movie.
That's awesome, guys. That's so great, guys.